Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's vOLTHA TST call. Thanks for joining. As usual, the call is public and recorded and will be shared on YouTube, so please be mindful of the comments you make during the full length of the call. First up, I would like to continue the discussion on the ATCD version that was started last time we met. And I know Serkan has done some investigation around this, as it was outlined in the Jira story here. And he has a presentation. So Serkan, if you want to share your screen and go ahead about this, please feel free.
Yes. Hi, everybody. So I started my screen sharing. Do you see?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, great. So at the previous TST, I brought the issue about the etcd version we are using. Etcd currently has 3 main versions, 2.x, 3.x, and 4.x. These are the main versions. And the minimum recommended version in production for etcd is 3.2.28 and 3.3.18 and 3.4.2. I checked this information when has changed, so it seems that it has changed. It changed in 10 months ago, and the previous information was that the 3.2.26 that we are using in ONF deployment was the recommended version for etcd deployment. For this, I did some performance tests and also inspected the different charts. One chart I have been looking at is the Bitnami chart. So the latest Bitnami chart is using the 3.4.13 version. For the current version we are using in ONF deployments, I realized some problems, especially for the some of the environment variables we are using. For example, the quota backend bytes, max request bytes, and the gRPC keep alive times. These are not supported setting by the environment variables. So we are setting these environment variables via kind vOLTHA, I guess. And it seems we are not able to set them. So when I check the code, it is introduced in this commit, and in 3.2.26 version, this commit is not included. So we are using always the default quota bytes, which is 2 gigabytes. It is okay for 512 ONUs, and maybe it is enough for 1024 ONUs, but I guess it will not be okay over 1024 ONUs. This quota will not be enough.
And this is, so if you just change the image version, it would get a newer image, and then those values would be allowed as environment variables?
Yes. Okay. I forgot to say, I also realized that if we check the Helm charts repo, not this one. This one. They put a notice about this repo will be archived soon. So I think we shouldn't continue to use this one. Actually, let me check these. Yeah, there's a more detailed notice here. At November 13, They are saying that these charts will likely be garbage collected and no longer be available. So
We also use another chart from this repo as well, I believe. I think there are 2 charts from the incubator that we're using.
I'm sorry, David, I couldn't understand.
Sorry, I think there's 2 charts from the incubator we're using.
Yes, we are using the incubator, and I don't think there's a etcd in the state.
No, I'm saying I thought we used etcd from incubator and then something else from incubator as well.
Oh,
I think that's Kafka.
So does that mean that in 3 days we're going to lose basically whenever a new deployment that uses the incubator? So for example, one that deploys with kind vOLTHA will not work anymore because the chart will not be there? Is that what we're reading from this?
Yeah, I think so. I just realized this today. I'm not sure, but it's gonna be the situation, I guess. Today I manually tried to install this incubator chart, but I couldn't. I don't know if the automated test is still running. Maybe I am doing something wrong. I don't know. But we are using these charts, right? I'm not looking at the wrong charts.
I'd have to go back and look at kind vOLTHA. As I said, I think there are 2 charts we use from incubator.
Yeah,
etcd is one, and I can't remember the other. And I thought incubator was actually being moved. Someone else was taking it over as well, but that's really not the issue. I don't care if we move off incubator.
Okay.
But if we're going to move off because of this, we probably should move both.
Yeah, okay, I see.
I think the other one we are using is Kafka.
Yes, I think so.
So given these 3 days, Serkan, have you tried the non-incubator Bitnami version?
Yes, actually, in our test, we are using the Bitnami versions, but it also has some other problems like the performance. I will mention about it.
Okay, thanks. I'll let you conclude, and then we can draw our conclusions and decide what.
Yeah, okay. Still, this is a preliminary work, so also I'm not sure about the performance results that I will present. So etcd provides a simple benchmarking tool. I've tried that to see the performance differences between 2 different versions. One version is the 3.4.1 from the Bitnami, and the other one is the version that we are using in ONF deployments. So as I said, we are in our test, we are using this version, but I was seeing lots of warning logs in etcd logs. So I was trying to find a meaning. What is this? And when I tried the ONF's charts, this incubator chart, I see that vOLTHA performance is much better in this 3.2.26 version. So I decided to make some benchmarking tests, but I got really weird results. So for the 3.2.6 version, the range is actually a read operation. The RPS value that I got from the benchmarking results are 77 RPS, whereas the Bitnami version is much higher. But as you see, the write performance is much worse than the version we are using at the ONF.
Are either of these with actual persistence with the storage volume,
without the persistence? Yes.
And so we're sure like the Bitnami doesn't create a private storage volume that starts writing to. It's all in memory. Or I don't know if either of them do that.
I'm suspecting the same thing, but to make it in ONF charts, in ONF deployment, we are using this parameter to disable the file system reading and writing. And for the Bitnami, I checked the charts, and I believe this, when I disable the persistency, it is not using any file IO. But I still not sure because the results are really weird.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's strange.
Yeah, it's
But
strange.
those results will explain perfectly why the 3.2.6 version is faster for vOLTHA, because we do a lot of
Yes.
read operation.
Read or write? I believe right. Read.
We do a lot of read, because anytime we list the logical ports or the logical meters, we basically iterate over the entire collection of the ports, and we read each one of them.
But this chart is saying that 341 is faster for reads.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So that wouldn't explain.
Oh,
that.
yeah. Sorry, I misread. I thought it was saying 77 milliseconds and not 77 requests per second.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So no, it doesn't explain it.
I believe in vOLTHA we are making lots of write requests because most of our read requests are cached and in OpenVOLTHA adapter and in the RV core also. But the writes, especially for the flow addition and flow deletion, we are always going to the etcd. So to me, that explains the performance problem with the newer version.
So, but you still have the concern about the errors that you're seeing, the timeouts.
Yeah, with the new version, yes, I see lots of timeouts, lots of this kind of logs in the etcd.
And those are during the performance test, not necessarily during a vOLTHA run, correct?
Yes, it's for when I run the performance test, correct. And another interesting thing is if we check the official benchmarking results, actually I am doing this one because the number of connections, if you increase the number of connections, you can get much more performance from the etcd, but I am doing the test with only one thread, one connection. So the write QPS, I think it is QPS equals the RPS, I guess. It is more than 500. This is for write, I guess. Yes, this is for writes. And the read performance is more than 1000 QPS with one connection. So I am not close.
Yeah, but that also has
these results. Yeah.
Yeah, but that has a lot of variable, right? How much memory did the system need for the testing? How much CPU? What's the clock to the CPU? How close are you to that?
Actually, I'm using a much more better machines.
Really?
Yeah. My machines have 64 CPUs and 64 gigabytes of memory. The only thing that I don't have is the SSD disks. But I believe that, yeah, when I disable the persistency, there would be no difference, but I'm still suspect about it.
Yeah. Do we know the clock speeds of those CPUs?
I don't know right now.
Also, do we know if this test is done while installing a etcd on the host or running in Docker?
I haven't tried that.
So maybe, yeah, that's something that just coming to my mind. Maybe what we ought to do, Theo, if we can just take a chunk of our time of our scale tests today and just run it with the Bitnami chart, run a few jobs. Given the timeline apparently we're in, which is 3 days before they deprecate the chart. Thankfully, we got that. we can maybe try a few runs with the Bitnami chart and see if we meet our scale within our tests, we just call it good enough.
Yeah, that's easy to do because the chart is parameterized.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I can just
exactly.
schedule a few runs with the different chart and see what happens.
Yep, I think that's the valid thing to do.
For that, you may need to change some of the parameters that you're passing with the kind vOLTHA. Probably the service address will be different with this installation, Bitnami installation, and the maybe also some other environment variables might be different.
That should be fine because in the scale test we are actually installing etcd outside of kind vOLTHA and then just pointing vOLTHA to that distance. So it should be fairly straightforward to try a different chart.
Okay, great.
And just one side note of this, that if we need to make some changes to the Helm chart for etcd and Kafka, then maybe that's a good trigger to move kind vOLTHA to be more Helm chart centric. So to have one infrastructure Helm chart and one macro vOLTHA Helm chart.
The issue would be 3 days.
Yeah, I know.
So do we even have an alternative Kafka chart we can use, or do we need to take these charts off the repo right now and put them somewhere like in vOLTHA Helm charts so we can use them while we figure this out?
Yeah, that's one option.
So that's definitely an option. I would say let's give us today to see if at least the Bitnami one works. For the Kafka one, do we have an alternative, David, that you know of?
I don't know of one, but I haven't looked for one either.
I think Bitnami also has Kafka. Yes. Yeah, the same repo can be used for the Kafka also.
So maybe it's worth testing both in the scale test, Theo.
Yeah, I'll check out both, but I'll check them independently of one another.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, that is all I have for today. I will continue with testing, and I'll provide the results when I get some better, meaningful results.
Thanks, Serkan. Thanks a lot. So I guess what we're gonna do is, at least from my understanding, by the way, I shared Serkan's presentation. It's in the note, it's in the agenda, and it's also on Drive. So please do take a look if you're interested. So my take on this is that as soon as we have some results from Theo, we can take a decision to first, if they're good results, we could just temporarily move the Bitnami, everything to the Bitnami chart, and then make the decision either to tackle the kind vOLTHA refactoring. If the results are not good, then we would have to get those Helm charts in the vOLTHA Helm charts, most likely, and have them there for now until we figure out maybe tweaking some parameters or using a different version. So let's tackle that as soon as Theo has some results from our scaling jobs. Okay. We'll keep everybody posted on vOLTHA Dev, most likely. Would that work for everybody?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. I'll share the result on the mailing list as soon as I have them.
Okay, due to 13, 11, 20, deprecation of, okay, perfect.
Just a side note, I did a quick check on Artifact Hub, and
Yep.
when you search for Kafka as well as etcd, the Bitnami charts show up first, just a reference point. They also seem to have the most recent changes to them.
Sounds good. That's great. At least we do have something that we can test. It's good. Okay, perfect. Okay, anything else on this topic before we move on? Okay, then if not, I would like to introduce Marcelo Souza from Furukawa. Marcelo is gonna talk about PPPoE contribution over vOLTHA. So I'll let, he's prepared a presentation that I've added to our design docs, and I'll let him take the lead, share his screen, and give us the presentation. So go ahead, Marcelo.
All right. Hello, everyone. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So
Yes, we can.
I'm Marcelo. I'm working for Furukawa Brazil, and I'm going to present something that Furukawa is working for a customer here in Brazil, right? Is the support of PPPoE intermediate agent on vOLTHA. So according to TR 101, the PPPoE intermediate agent must support intercepting the PPPoE discovery stage packets and adding the access loop identification on such packets. Intercept all upstreams PPPoE discovery stage packet means PAD, PADR, and also the upstream PADT packets, right? Mainly we are intercepting the ether type 0x808063. We should not modify the source, neither the destination MAC address of those PPPoE discovery packets, right? And add the PPPoE tag to the packet to send the upstream on direction of the BNG. And the vendor specific PPPoE tag circuit ID and remote ID. And if after we insert such tag on the packet surpass the MTU size, we need to drop the packet according to TR 101, okay? And issue a responsive to the sender, okay? So the proposal to support on vOLTHA, first of all, we need to support a kind of global flag of PPPoE intermediate agent function. Once this flag is enabled, we can install the trap to host packets flows on the OLT and the corresponding flows on vOLTHA nodes. If the flag is disabled, we will not install the flows on the system. Second, we need to support the PPPoE AD flow installation on OLT app and also on OLT pipeline. Third one, we needed to add the PPPoE utils in ONOS core for verification of session, payload, and tag. Add the PPPoE agent app for ONOS, right, mainly to make the relay functions and packet statistics. Also, adding the PPPoE traffic flow on the open OLT adapter and also on vOLTHA core. And the PPPoE traffic support on the agent itself on the box. Number 7, we need to add the loop identification. So we propose, according to this implementation that you already made, is the circuit ID formed by the host name, slot, port, and also the ONOS serial number. The host name is get from the OLT size entry, So we need to specify the host name on the IoT status entry. This slot is configured as 0 in case of standalone IoT. So mainly is a kind of hard-coded value that we intended to use. The port is the POM port ID ranging from 0 to 15, right? If you using the Open IoT with the Edge Core box, and it will get from the port attribute of the connected point. The ONO serial number also is get from the connected point, but using an attribute called the port name. Finally, we needed to support the statistics for the PPPoE sessions, right? So we intended to support all these kind of statistics on ONOs per client. That's it. Do you guys have any questions?
I have one question that is high level. That is generally the PPOE sessions are terminated in the BNG. What is the need to have basically a relay in ONOS instead of just letting the packets going through the system?
Yeah, mainly to identify the access loop, right? We needed to, some customers, when they already using PPPoE on their network, they using the access loop identification on BNG to correctly identify the subscribers. So we need to trap the such packets to ONOS, insert the tag, mainly the circuit ID, right, from where the packet came from, and send to the BNG.
Okay, so it is basically to add some information to the packet so that
Yes,
the PPOE
yes.
server can react appropriately.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
And it is just the discovery packet that you're sending to ONOS.
Yeah.
This is Amit. I have a question on the PON port ID that you talked about. I think from getting it from the connect point. Yeah. So and previously.
Sorry.
Yeah. The PON port ID ranging from 0 to 15. Yeah. So this is something which I don't understand.
Is the PON port identification, right? And we get from the attribute port of the connected point. So if the packet came from the, let's suppose the PON port number 1 of the Edge Core box, we are going to get this information from the connected port, from this attribute port. So we are going to, on the circuit ID that we are going to insert on the packet, we are going to specify from which IoT this packet came from, also the PON port, and also the ONO serial number that came from.
So ONOS has no idea about the PON port.
Yeah, but we have a port ID, right, on the a port attribute on the connected point.
Yeah, but that's an OpenFlow port. That's that reflects the uni port, not the PON port.
Actually, I think we can work on this. We can discover the PON port, Saurav. Marcus, do you have any comments?
Yeah. Just to, I remember that we could infer the PON port from the OF agent information. Yeah, can double check, but I think that this information we are able to discover during the discovery of the flow. Okay.
We can double check, Saurav,
Yeah.
but I talk to
that is
developers
feasible.
here. We are using this kind of attribute, right? I can put more information on the presentation after this meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll be curious to know how you're figuring out the PON port.
Yeah, I will check and we talk to Marcel after the meeting. Yeah.
So effectively, this would act most like as a DHCP-L2 relay app that we have. Is that the right way to frame it?
Yeah, similar.
Okay. The other question I have is, if you go back one slide, you mentioned that there needs to be some of the PPPoE utils in the honors core. Why do those need to be in the honors core and cannot be implemented directly in the app?
Marcos, can you answer it?
Yeah, in the honors utils, we define the packet itself. It's an extension of the basic packet from the Ethernet, and we extended it to describe the PPPoE packet. It's just the packet object.
I see. Okay, it's like having a DHCP packet. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
Like
it's the same
just for honors to understand what the packet is.
Yeah, just
okay.
for that.
Okay.
I think there may already be something similar, because Daniele and Carmelo did some work on PPoE, and I know that Onos was parsing those packets. I can look up the application that they wrote and share it.
Yeah, it would be good to have Carmelo and Daniele in this conversation as soon as you guys have some more concrete stuff. We can definitely share you that BNG-C application that they wrote that might have included some of the PPP stuff, because they were effectively terminating it in the BNG, acting as a BNG. So some of that must be in there. And that some of that you can reuse. And that is, I think, a good follow-up to my second question. I wanted to ask, how much of this do you guys already have or have working?
We needed to make some adjustments on the code, because the code is developed on top of the vOLTHA 2.4. So we needed to adjust this for 2.6. Also on the statistics parts, we needed to make some rework, but we already have almost everything done.
Okay, that's very good. That's very good. Great, actually. One question regarding the statistics. Do you plan to push those to the Kafka app that Onus has?
Yeah, we can do it also. Marcos already worked on the statistics published on Kafka on the past.
Yeah, we can do the same as we have done for DHCP. We can publish on Kafka. Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good. That's great. So, okay, very good. So I think, at least from our perspective, from ONF perspective, we should send you the information about the work that Carmelo and Daniele have done regarding the BNG-C and stuff that they did around the PPP session. And then, do you guys have in mind a timeline for submitting these contributions?
Andre, I think we can start to sharing this on the next week. As I explained to you, the code was developed on top of 2.4, and on it to build the 2.6 and start to work here. Maybe from next week you can start to share something.
Okay. One question that I have for the TST, and I would like everybody's opinion here. Would you guys be okay with including this in 2.6, or would you prefer deferring this to a 2.7 release?
When the 2.6 should be released?
2.6, the code freeze is targeted around the start of December. So in about 20-25 days, we have code freeze at the start of December, and then ideally the release is going to happen before Christmas.
When is going to have the infrastructure to test this use case?
We don't have, at least not that I know of at the moment.
than 2.7. I think ONF has to have the infrastructure tested before it can be included in a release.
Yep.
The ON adapter is in Go for the 2.6. Is it to be in Go or still in Python?
The OpenONU adapter, we're doing all the things for having it in Go.
Right. So let us start this process next week, and then we can share some forecast to you, right? Because we need the flow on the box. We need to use ACL by now. It's not the flow anymore. So let us start to work on 2.6, and then we can talk when it can be released.
Is the trap flow on the OLT or on the ONU?
On the OLT.
Then there should be no major changes, I think.
Yeah, I would agree, Theo.
And how about the agent, the application that the Girish is working on to trap the packets of the host CPU, when it will be released?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
See, when we have a ticket on the Jira to track the packets of the host CPU using ACL, right?
Oh yeah, that one. So I have submitted a patch for that one. I couldn't find your name on Gerrit, so I tagged you on Jira again.
Right.
So the patch is ready and working.
Okay. All right. So let's start to work on 2.6 here, and then we can send some information when it will be available.
That's perfect by me, and that also allows us some time to go through the reviews, because this needs to be, everything here needs to be reviewed. The honors contribution, the app, the OLT, the adapter, the core, everything needs to go through the review process. So I think I'll let you guys start. Whenever you have something, you can contribute it upstream. We can put in some time for the review. And I do have the feeling that it's going to be totally okay if we have this in 2.7, as David was suggesting, given the fact that also we at ONF have to set up the infrastructure to test it.
All right.
Okay, thanks a lot. This is a great contribution. Thanks for sharing.
Guys, just a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
In the future, it will be possible to test PPOE on BBC?
Theo, do you think we can have the same implementation as DHCP and EPO?
Mm-hmm.
For sure, we can have BBSIM generating PPOE server. I'm not sure we'll have the bandwidth to work it for 2.6 though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I do agree that 2.6 is not definitely a target for the BBSIM.
Oh, sure. Okay. But it's feasible to have some kind of implementation.
Yeah, we'll just need to generate the PPOE packets. It shouldn't be too hard.
Okay, thank you.
I'll create a Jira ticket for this. And
yeah, actually, I'll have to check whether the Go packet library supports PPOE, but I believe it does.
Okay. In any case, I think it's a valid use case to do that. We in the future we can support this in BBSIM. Okay.
Well, for sure, if vOLTHA supports it, BBSIM needs to support it too, because we need to still test that functionality.
Yep. Well, the other thing to say is that at the moment, this is not part of either the AT&T, the DT, or the Turk Telecom workflow. So we wouldn't have to scale test it, but agreed that once several functionality is in vOLTHA, it needs to be matched in BBSIM. And having the whole thing working is also a matter of prioritization and interest from the operators, and as usual. So, well, let's get started on the process. I'll create the Jira ticket for BBSIM, and then we can go ahead with steps, incremental steps whenever we have time and resources.
All right, great.
Thanks a lot, guys. By the way, it's a great contribution.
Thank you.
I'll take back the sharing rights. So just a brief update from myself. I just want to report that we are in pretty good shape for the OpenONU Go adapter. As of today, we managed to get to the full 48 suite tests that we run on BBSim fully working with the OpenONU Go adapter. That means enable, disable, PON ports, OLTs, ONUs, and the whole things that we do. It's now supported. That is on BBSim. It's not with traffic, but we already have some initial sanity traffic tests, and I will be moving on to more elaborate full DT and AT&T testing. The big missing feature is the multi-TCONT implementation that is to support the Turk Telecom workflow, but I have some pretty good confidence that in the next days and weeks we can work on that with the help of Adtran and get that and Netsia and get that in. That's the big feature. There are a few things that might not make it into 2.6 with the Go adapter, some PM stuff and some other accessory items, definitely not the ONU software update, because that's a big feature that will be implemented most likely after 2.6. But most likely the big set of the three workflows are going to be working on the ONU Go adapter. The good thing is that we are already running some of the tests at scale for AT&T and Deutsche Telekom, and we are seeing very good improvements in terms of speed, in terms of overall performance of the system with one adapter, which is great. So we'll keep working at it. If you're interested, I put a link in the document for the agenda for the meeting that we have weekly/bi-weekly, depending on the need. We're going to have one tomorrow, so if anybody's particularly interested, feel free to join. There you will also find some prioritized items. So if you're interested in having something in and you don't find it there, just give us a jump on the call, give us a comment so we can make sure it gets in. In the meantime, I'm also progressing on we're also progressing on the hardware tests. We do have DT and AT&T. We do have DT working for AT&T. There's a few bits and pieces missing that we need to implement. And then we're gonna have also that one. And most likely by the end of this week, I'm gonna extend the existing sanity to the full suite of tests. So that's just an update on the OpenONU Go adapter. I just wanted to give it to everybody because there was no update since a few weeks on this. But this is all to say that the work is progressing very well. And a huge thanks to Adtran, especially Mikael and Holger and Torsten for helping us out here. So any questions?
No, just one thing, Andrea. Yesterday I noticed that there is a piece missing to support the multi-stack in the OpenOLT Go adapter. Basically, you cannot configure the read and write core and the OpenOLT topic. I think that's just something that we need to push in the Helm chart. It's possible that there is a small change required in the core, but it's a very small thing. I'll take a better look today and I'll post on the channel.
I thought the topics were parameters to the core and stuff. Is it just you just need to add it to the adapters itself as a parameter? Yeah,
correct.
Okay, thanks.
I have to check whether it's the Helm chart that is not exposing them or the code that is not reading them, but it's a very small.
Yeah, I thought it should be part of the values, being able to set by the values file.
Yeah, it's in the values file. I'm not sure is in the deployment file for the OpenONU adapter.
Okay.
Or in the code of the ONU adapter. I haven't checked it where, but when I tried, it was not getting configured with the same parameter.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Theo. I've added it to the agenda for tomorrow. So if you have any comments, you can either put them in the agenda or create a Jira story, you know, the usual. So I'll let you deal with it. should be as you said, should be a pretty quick fix. So if we can get it in,
I can take care of that. It's not a big deal.
Also most likely, as we were discussing on a Gerrit patch, you would need to integrate the parameter, passing the parameter for the etcd prefix. Is that
yeah?
Is that right?
Yeah, that's yeah.
Okay, I'm just taking a note here. I'm just gonna leave this to you. I don't think either of those are big changes, but if you need any help, just let me know. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks,
do we have a plan to switch the Golang implementation to be the default one when you deploy the system anytime soon?
There's still a few things that I would like to get in before we do that. The key one being the tech profile delete through OMCI, because right now the tech profile deletion succeeds through the whole system, but it's not actually deleted on the OMCI channel. It's just something that we need to do. And that is still a key component that needs to be done. That's one. And I would really like to have the multi-tcont, because otherwise you would have to have a conditional clause that if it's the telecom workflow, you still need to deploy the Python version. So possibly in the next 1 or 2 weeks, that's definitely something that I want to do. Before doing that, I would also like to have it passing the full suite of hardware tests that we have. So effectively, in the next few weeks, we're going to have a better picture and understanding of when can we do this. It's not a fact of if. Before releasing, it's definitely going to be the de facto standard for deployment, but I'm not just ready. I think we're not just ready yet. Just a couple more days / a week probably before we can actually even consider doing it. And I would still leave in place the Python version, like a deprecated possibility, like with Python instead of with Go, because if we do see some problems, we can easily switch back to the Python version.
Yeah, I was just talking about switching the default to be the Go adapter, but not removing the Python one.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to do that also because by using it, there's probably going to be people that say, oh, I tested this in my particular workflow in this particular way and it didn't work, and we're going to have to fix it. So that's good. But yeah, we're going to do it in the upcoming days / weeks. Okay. Any other question? Okay, then last topic. I just want to give a few minutes to Amit from Radisys to talk about the changes that he has made to the Get External Value API that was introduced a while back. And he's now using it for some of his use cases. So he did some changes to have a better API, and I'll let Amit speak to it.
Yeah, thanks, Andrea. I'll start sharing my screen.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so what you see on the screen now is the get.ext value and set.ext value in the vOLTHA.proto, which has been there for some time now. So we had one use case to implement, and when we tried to go through this API, it lacked some flexibilities. So what we suggested is that we upgrade these APIs to have more flexibility, but we have not removed this so that it's backward compatible for the moment, and folks who are using this could still continue using it. Once we have the new one working fine, then we would deprecate this and then move everything to the new one. So the new one has been defined in the same directory under, excuse me, under extensions.proto. So we have a new service here, a gRPC service called extension, and we have getTXT value and setTXT value defined out here. And I'll just run you through what we take as inputs to this RPCs, right? So single get value request is the input to the getTXT value, and it responds back with the single get value response. So basically what this is, or what it means, is that at this point of time, we can get the value of a single attribute. Right? In the future, when we have use cases of requiring to get retrieve values of multiple attributes on a single RPC, we would extend this service with more RPCs, and that's why we have kept the scope. We could have multiple get value requests in the future. So if you look into the contents of this, you have a target ID, which basically would be the ID of the component or the adapter which would service this request. So from the course perspective, it would be pretty much transparent. It would just look up on the target and find who's going to service this request and route this request to that specific adapter. And the get value request actually contains the specific request that we are trying to make. So as of now, we have two. One is get distance request. So this comes from what was already implemented in getTXT value, and get ONU info. This is what we needed for a use case, right? And this is what we introduced newly. And depending on the request, right? So each request would be defined with its own message. So for example, get distance request has, okay, the ONU device ID for which you seek to find the distance. Uni info request takes the uni index for which you want to find the info about. And depending on the request, right, the target would change. So for example, the get distance request, in this case, the target should be the vOLTHA adapter who's going to give this information back. Whereas in the case of ONU info request, the target ID should be that of the ONU adapter who can give this information after retrieving it from the ONU over OMCI. And so depending on that, our appropriate response would be sent back by the adapter who is servicing this request. So if you look into the response, so the response contains a get value response, right? And it has a status error reason. So as of now, the number of reasons that we have is pretty limited, but as we have more use cases and more types of request and response, we could, this would expand. So for each of the request types that we have a corresponding response type. And again, the response type would, depending on the request, would have its specific information inside of that. So for example, in case of ONU information, we have the administrative state, the operational state as retrieved from the ONU, as well as the configuration index of that port, signifying what type of cable is connected on that port. So, the protos are done and this has been merged. Currently, we are working on some of these changes in the RW core and the ONU adapter. So that's a work in progress. So I would stop here and would take any questions that you might have.
I have a question about the target ID. So who decides to route these requests based on the target ID?
So it's the RW core, right? So the client who is generating this request, right, would know that depending on the request that he is making, right, whether it would be serviced by the vOLTHA adapter or the ONU adapter, right? Or basically which device. So the client has to know which device can support it. And depending on that, he would fill in the target ID. But the client would not know which particular adapter is doing this or would be able to do this, because that mapping is available only with the RW core. So the RW core would do the mapping from the device ID of the target, right, to the adapter where it is running. Yeah.
Thanks. So the target ID is actually the device ID here.
Yes, in the case of OLT and an ONU, right, servicing it, it would be the device ID. Yes.
Okay, thanks. Okay. No, nothing. Probably, is it always the device ID or it could be anything else?
No, the idea is to have it as the device ID.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So if a specific request, right, needs more information to be passed to the adapter, right, and that's it needs to be passed within the contents of the request itself. So say you have a get XYZ request, right, and then you define inside that whatever additional information you would want to pass so that the request can be serviced.
Thanks, Amit.
Any other questions?
No? Okay, then
no,
if
so
not,
Andre, you can take it back.
Yeah, I'm just not going to take it back to the slide, to the agenda, but just close the meeting. So thanks a lot, Amit, for presenting. It was useful. Let us know if you need any review on the upcoming changes that you make sure. I know there is a thread on vOLTHA dev, if I'm not mistaken, where you're asking for some comments. Is it? No?
Yeah, it's in vOLTHA dev. So yeah, some problems that we see with implementation on the Python ONU.
So if anybody has the time, please do take a look at that. And please do provide Amit with any feedback, any comments that you might have. Having said that, thanks for joining. We're at the top of the hour, so it's perfect. And I'm going to publish the recording as usual. So anybody who is interested can take a look at it later. And let's continue working on Slack and mailing list and everything. And we have our action items. I think the priority is fixing that etcd stuff that might disappear. So let's take action on that, and let's get it done. So thanks a lot and have a nice evening or day, depending on where you are. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.